Hello and welcome to this episode of the Leffthanders Podcast. I've got a lot to discuss today in this episode. I just returned from my winter golf getaway to Phoenix, and I'm excited to talk about that. Jon Rahm had quite the audio clip this past weekend, I guess, at the stadium course at the American Express Championship. Then a couple other things. I've got a USGA article that I came across titled "The Anatomy of a 4-Hour Round," which I thought was really interesting. And then I believe it was Dylan DeChair. He had an article too from 1973, Lee Trevino, talking about how to make golf faster. So kind of both of those talking about pace of play. And my question for you at the end will be one that I'll hope that you'll respond to in the comments. Greg Norman's new golf league, the SGL. He's got the producer, I believe, from Fox Sports back when Fox had the U.S. Open, and kind of the different things that he did to that producer, the different things that he did to revolutionize how we view the game. You know, how the viewing experience of the game, and I think that there's some interesting insights there, some interesting ideas for this new SGL. The Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines is this week. And then lastly, just a quick reminder of the State Lefty Open. So my Phoenix golf getaway started on a Friday. Saturday, we didn't actually play much golf, any golf at all. We kind of did some hiking. But the first hike we did was Mormon Trail up the Fat Man's Pass. So we did some hiking there. Got some really cool pictures, and I love that aspect of Phoenix as well. But then Saturday, we were able to make the 20-minute drive south to Akshin Southern Dunes. They had a Dunes Day double play that we took advantage of, and we played 36 out there, had lunch. What a great experience. What a cool course. It plays extremely long. We played 2 tees up, and I think it was 6,400 yards the first round. And then we played 1 tee up the second time. It was 6,700 yards. No, I'm sorry. I think we played 3 tees up the first time and 4 tees up the first time and 3 tees up the second time. That's what it was, because from the tips, this course tips out at like 7,500 yards. It's one of the longest courses that I've ever seen, that I've ever played. Obviously, I didn't play that length, but just to be on that course was really something to stand back on some of those tee boxes and just kind of marvel at what it takes to hit a driver, to carry a driver, whatever length you need to hit those carries. Things of note about this course: 105 bunkers, big, high-facing bunkers that, unavoidable for the most part, especially not having played in a couple of months. It was just one of those things that I was going to have to deal with. I hit a lot of fairway bunker shots, my fair share of greenside bunker shots. I mean, the course was in great shape, and even though there were 105 bunkers, there was definitely, enough fairway as well. It's one of those courses where there's just a ton of space. I don't know. I mean, it was immaculate. The fairways were perfect. The greens were really, they rolled really well. They were fast, probably because of the tournament that was there the previous weekend. But also, they take, you can tell that it matters to them. They take good care of it. And, the hospitality around the starter, the people in the restaurant, the 2 people behind the counter in the pro shop, the Rangers. I mean, everyone was great. We got paired with 2 guys who were members. One guy told us that he was like one of the first members. He'd been there since the year 2000, and gave us a lot of really cool, really good insight into how to approach each hole and where things were and what to avoid and where to hit it and how to play it. And it was a ton of fun. The second time around, we played with some other tourists. They were staying for a while, and they had stayed for a while, and they'd played once before. So I mean, that was fun too, to kind of have 4 fresh perspectives of the course as well. Weather was perfect. I mean, you're in Phoenix in late January. There's nothing better. I mean, it was probably 70 degrees, and the wind picked up in the afternoon, but it was awesome. It's not your desert style course. It's how the one guy who was the member since it opened, he referred to it as links style, which I don't know that I entirely agree with, but I'm not well versed in desert golf versus links golf, just because I don't have a lot of that here in Minnesota. But it was interesting to see the difference between that and, say, like Verado, which I've played before as well. Verado is clearly your desert style course, and there were some distinct differences, and Auction was great. I mean, I had an absolute blast. I played really well on the front side, my first round in a long, long time, and then I just kind of lost it on the back nine of the first 18. And then the second 18, I don't know if I had gotten tired or exactly what, but I didn't play quite as well. But, still nice to be out. I'm currently staring at 5 degrees back home here, so I don't mind it at all. The third day of the trip meant we were going to Papago Golf Club, which is one that I'd heard of. It came recommended. It shows up on Golf Now. Come to find out, it is Arizona State's home course. So you dig into YouTube a little bit, you can find some really pretty cool stuff. One, about the course. Two, about the history of ASU and their facility there, their complex. I mean, it's unreal. It's such a cool place. And then before we teed off, we did a little bit more hiking in Papago Park, kind of a city-owned recreation area. And they have these buttes, is what they call them, and they overlook the whole course. And so going up there, checking that out, getting a pretty cool aerial view of the course was kind of neat. You can see the whole driving range. You can see the Thunderbird Golf Complex, is what they call ASU's building that they have for their athletes. And then you can see the clubhouse, the pro shop, and most of the course. And so it's kind of cool to look at that in anticipation of playing the course later that afternoon. Then we get out there, and honestly, it was, like I said, I loved Auction, Southern Dunes, but I think I liked Papago more. Fantastic fairways, really, really good shape. You could miss a little bit. The grass was short, kind of yellowing. Definitely playable though, but you could also get lost in the desert too. Not the fairways, but the bunkering around the greens was great. It was high face bunkers. You couldn't just bounce one up, but yet the greens were accessible and not too punishing. And I think we played 6,700 yards or so. So definitely a tough test, but the pace was great. We went out as a twosome, actually, which surprised me. I thought definitely we'd get paired up with two others, but they snuck us on. And everyone out there knew what it meant to play through. We ended up playing through two groups. They did it well. We did it right. The course was full, but it took us 4 hours on the nose. I mean, just a fantastic experience. Then we go in after for a little bit of food and a beer, and it was, just such a cool atmosphere as the sun was going down and everyone was out there. Even though it was Monday, you can just tell it's a happy place. It's a golf course in January, so it's people I think were just happy to be there. The bar was full. Definitely a good time. One of the best things about it, 9 minutes from the airport for us. When I went down last year, I made an attempt to sort of save some money, which meant that we were driving a lot more to, go to these courses. And I did find a little bit, better deals, but we were really stretched for time. And the last round, the getaway round, was an hour south of the airport, and I thought that we had enough time. We could play our round in 4 hours, 4.5 even, and still get up to the airport. Well, the front nine took 3 hours down at the course we played at down southeast, and it was like we had to leave. We didn't even get to finish, and I'd saved a few dollars there, but it just wasn't. I didn't want to do that again. I did not want, knowing we had a flight to catch, I did not want to not be able to play the whole course. And so I chose Papago because it is 9 minutes from the airport, and it was definitely the right choice. And honestly, the price wasn't too bad. I want to say it was about $85 to play 18 with a cart, and given that time and the money that you can spend down there this time of year, it's $85 was not bad at all. And so definitely I would recommend Papago for the whole experience. The range, the practice area, the bar, the pro shop, the course itself, the people. I mean, what a great experience. So walking out of there this year, I miss it because it's cold and we got about 2 more months of winter here. But looking back, definitely more fondly on this trip. Not that, again, the previous trip wasn't great and all, because it really was. There were some really cool courses. I loved Verado. Pueblo El Mirage was, I mean, that's, if you know what that is, it was I think it was $27. But kind of a unique experience all in itself. Out in must have been a retirement community with, $100,000, $150,000 mobile homes just lining the thing. But it was a really cool experience. So this trip, though, like I said, ended up being a good trip because I made the right choices as far as trying to play which courses and making sure that we had good experiences and weren't strapped for time. So very cool. I would recommend both courses, but if you're looking for an 18-hole getaway round, definitely consider Papago. What a cool place. While I was there, a couple videos came across my social media that I think are worth discussing. The week that the PGA Tour had last weekend was at the stadium course at PGA West for the American Express Championship. Jon Rahm had a few strong words caught on video as he was leaving a green, and I think maybe we just let the clip speak for itself. Not safe for work, so definitely before I play this, make sure that you don't have kids in earshot or that you're not going to get in trouble playing this while at the workplace.
Piece of shit fucking setup, putting contest week.
So if you didn't catch that was a couple of swear words and a claim that it's just a putting contest week. But that's what you're going to get. We saw it in Hawaii, and that's what you get at these tournaments. The scores are going to be low. They're meant to be low. When you don't have long, hard courses, they're going to tear up these courses. They're that good. It's just another reminder again of what would happen if these guys played, your home course. You could think your home course is tough, it's long, whatever. These guys are going to tear it up. They just are. I mean, this is a PGA Tour setup, and it's a putting contest, because guys are sticking the green for birdie every time. Who can make the most long putts? And that's who's going to win the tournament. He didn't back off his comments in a press conference later, soon after that. He said, the video's pretty self-explanatory. We're on the PGA Tour, we're the best golfers on the planet, and we're playing a golf course where missing the fairway means absolutely nothing. There were times when missing the fairway by an inch was worse than the missing by 20 yards. That, to me, is a mistake. I don't know what else to say. I also understand we're in the desert. You can't overseed the entire course, and things like that can happen. But yeah, we play a lot of golf with zero rough. He went on to say, I like fairways to be narrow. I like the rough to be up so you can't just miss the fairway and go for the green with whatever you want. I would like the greens to be firm. They don't need to be ridiculously firm, but firm. And the greens at the right speed. That's tough to say because you have greens here, for example. If you have them rolling at 13, it would be unplayable because of how sloped they are. But I think a golf course that would challenge us in every aspect of the game. And that's where I believe you'd find the best player. Somebody whose whole game completely is playing good throughout. And if something is missing, you have to make up with really good stuff on the other parts of your game. So he didn't back off it. I don't think he's wrong. But at the same time, you just kind of know that that's what you're going to get early in the year when they play the West Coast. He's been kind of known to be outbursty, but I don't know. I can't really blame him. It's just, it kind of is what it is. We'll have to see, how he feels later in the year. See if he can, if he sticks to his guns on this. If it's not just some hypocritical thing that he says. But what is going to be interesting, I hope, is that we get more of this kind of stuff because I like the honesty in the Netflix series that's coming out, the one that's being filmed this year and probably will be released in early 2023. I hope that we do get a lot more of these sort of hot mic situations because they make for fun conversation and some pretty entertaining social media banter. So that's what you got out west, and it's sort of just is what it is. Next up, we have an article that's actually not terribly new, but it's one that I came across again, and I definitely think it's worth discussing out of USGA.org. It's the anatomy of a 4-hour round. They talk to the superintendent, Aaron Hills, and the importance of the wow factor. It's a 7-mile walk, and there's no carts, and the average round is 4 hours and 50 minutes. Yeah, that's long, but as long as the flow is good, it doesn't have the same effect that it does if you play a 4.5-hour round, but you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So he said they focus on the wow factor, which I guess makes sense. I don't know. I'm kind of big on the 4-hour round. We have these stereotypes of what causes a long round. Choosing the right tees is an important piece to keeping up, and I think that's important too. So kind of looking at all of these different factors. Here's an example that came up. Pinehurst's course number 4, a highly rated 2018 Gilhan's redesign of a Donald Ross original experience backups on its second hole, a short par 5. We simply pushed back all the tees to make sure that the green was not reachable in 2, said the resort's head pro, Matt Barksdale. And he said that improved the flow because you got guys waiting. I think I can reach it in 2. And they got 240 yards, and they're like, well, geez, I did hit my 3-iron there or my 3-wood there one time. Maybe I can do it again. Well, no. You're probably going to duff it 80 yards. That's what happens. That's what makes us amateurs. And so kind of recognizing that, they backed it off so that you are forced to sort of lay up and go for the green with your third shot, kind of doing what you can to improve the flow. He goes on to say, if a round of golf takes 5 hours and you never have to wait, that's fine. But if it's 4 hours and you're waiting on every shot, it's not good. Courses have more control over pace of play than they think, said Eric Bray, PhD and director of GGA Partners and a professor at the University of Wisconsin Stout. They just have to change their mindset. To that end, he debunks certain stereotypes. And like I said, this idea that women are slower players when really men who play from the tips are a bigger problem. The importance of a ranger, especially as courses get slower, when rangers aren't exactly trained. They're just out there, kind of keeping tabs on things, but they're not exactly maybe the most assertive people, and holding people accountable. So Matt Pringle is cited in the article. He's the managing director at the USGA. He brings up this important point related to the fact that courses can do more about controlling pace than maybe they feel like they do. He says it's really the responsibility of the course to make sure they're not putting golfers onto the course faster than the flow will allow. Otherwise, you're setting the whole day up for disaster. What is the capacity of the course, he says? What is a reasonable gap time between groups? In some cases, 8 minutes is fine, but in some cases, 10 minutes is fine. It depends on the layout and where you're placing tee time versus hole location. So a lot of this article actually falls back on the course itself, and the people in charge. There's obvious things that players can do, as far as where do you leave your cart. Letting people play through on par 3s, those sorts of things. But this kind of puts the spotlight on the course, and it kind of says, look, the courses need to do their part to help this out as well. Last thing he says that I think is pretty important. It says, if the character of your course is challenge and difficulty, that's absolutely your prerogative. But if you have a photo op signature hole, that's also your prerogative. You just need to balance your tee time intervals so they're consistent with how quickly golfers can flow. There's the word again. We're talking about flow. If you have a smooth flow of play, a 4.5-hour round doesn't feel like that long, said Hunki Yoon, Director of Business Development for the USGA Green Section. But if you play in 4 hours and 15 minutes and you've had to wait one or two significant periods of time, you remember that as a negative experience. And so it's all about creating sort of the experience as well. What can courses do? What are they doing to make this go smoother? So I realize that much of what is said here is sort of out of our hands as the player, but it's just interesting to look at, and kind of see the world through that perspective, see that experience that we've all had through this perspective, and kind of look at the courses we play and go, okay, what are they actually? What are their tee time differences? Well, how is the flow of the course? What kinds of things happen at the turn? I mean, it's just an interesting way to go about it. We all know certain ways that we can kind of speed up the round, but just kind of understanding that and knowing what you're getting into is, when you go to play a round of golf, is important, because you might be out there for 5 hours and it might just be what it is. That course has to decide what's going to be best for them. I wanted to talk about, too, Greg Norman's SGL league, the Saudi Golf League, and how he pulled in the producer of Fox Sports Golf back when they had the U.S. Open, which changed hands a couple of years ago. But he's working with him. His name is Dave Hill, and they are looking at how to... He and Greg Norman, at least, are looking at how to reimagine what golf looks like on TV, and how it can be different than the PGA Tour. And they talk about a couple of things in particular that are, if nothing else, intriguing. 54-hole rounds, or 54-hole tournaments, and shotgun starts, so it doesn't drag out all day. All the action is happening at once. It's 4 hours, and that's it. And it can all sort of happen at one time. With regard to Greg Norman and his not so quietly creating of another golf league, a rival golf league to the PGA Tour, he says the reason he's so adamant, he being Greg Norman, is so adamant about this is because the average age of people who watch a golf telecast is 65. That's the average age. And that's what tells you that the golf audience is on a downward ski slope. What Greg wants to do, because he's so passionate about the sport, he wants to reverse that trend and hopefully produce golf that appeals for the first time many decades to a much younger demographic than watches now. Assuming that the league does recruit enough talent, one of the final pieces to the puzzle will be a television deal. Hill has some experience in this end, but finding a broadcast partner might prove prickly. Fox, where both Norman and Hill have close relationships with Murdoch, who owns Fox, would seem to be a clear favorite. Then again, the network's appetite for golf is unclear after it dumped the TV deal with the USGA in the middle of a 12-year contract just a year ago, because remember, like I said, they had the U.S. Open, so that sort of went away. So it'll be interesting to see how they can get that TV aspect off the ground for this SGL. But I don't know, 3-day events, 54 holes, shotgun rounds might be interesting. I mean, it's tough. One of the things that I think would be kind of a roadblock, or at least a barrier there, is watching a group go through on 17. You know exactly what 17 looks like. You know that the guys in the group behind are in first place, and they're going to play 17 now. Well, they're being on different parts of the course kind of creates a whole other hard thing to wrap your head around, especially if you're not familiar with like the shotgun start or the shotgun round of golf. I don't know that that's going to necessarily bring in a wider audience. We'll have to see what that looks like and what they decide. But it's intriguing and it's different, so that might be a good thing. And lastly, again, first and foremost and always, this is a podcast that seeks to grow the Minnesota State Lefty Open. This upcoming summer in 2022, it takes place at Riverwood National Golf Course in Otsego, Minnesota, on July 16th and 17th. Cost is $115, and if it's something you want to come stay at, if you're driving from a long way, that's great. There's hotels 5 miles both east and west of Riverwood. So that'll all be laid out in the flyer as well. If you'd like to get on the email list, you can email me at mnlefthanders leftyhanders@gmail.com. I'll get the flyer out to you. I'll get you sent out with updates. In fact, I just sent one out this morning to those who are already on the email list. What I'm excited about this year is a couple of things. The first is that on Saturday evening, they've got the Vintage across the street. It's owned by the same person, and it's an executive course. It's got 2 par 4s per side, and the rest are par 3s. What I want to do, they've also got the big cups over there, like for juniors, for to just kind of get kids in the game, and they are great about trying to get kids into the game over at Vintage. I mean, it's such a cool thing. I bring my 4-year-old over there all the time. But I'm wondering if we don't have a big cup skins tournament, just a 9-hole skins game over there in the evening. Opens the door to, hole-in-ones, chip-ins, that sort of thing. Could be a ton of fun. I'm going to try to get a group of guys over to play in that. And maybe that's what you play in. Maybe you can't commit to a 2-day, 18-hole a day, 36-hole total tournament. But you want to come out, you want to play skins one evening on a Saturday night. Great. Come on out. Let's get all the lefties in the state in this thing. That would be awesome if we could pull that off. Also, I'm thinking that Saturday morning I'll have a little putting contest as well, but I'm looking forward to it. The calendar's turned. We're nearing the end of January. What is it? 2 months left till we can start swinging the clubs in Minnesota again. So anyway, if you'd like to get on an email list, email me at mnlefthanders@gmail.com. You can also follow me on most of your social channels at mnlefthanders. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is where I'm most active. And so I hope that you will consider it, or at least if you know a lefty, share this news with them. And so with that, that's all I have for you with this episode. Thanks, and talk again soon.